Chapter 2, Castle Dracula. The Count held out his hand. When Jonathan shook it, it felt as cold as ice. "You must be hungry after your journey," said the Count, leading him into a room where a delicious meal lay ready. The Count didn't touch a bite. "Tell me about the London house," he demanded. "It's called Carfax," Jonathan replied, between mouthfuls. "It's an ancient stone building with large grounds surrounded by high walls." The next morning, Jonathan was shaving when suddenly a sudden noise made him jump. He spun around and nearly collided with the Count. I didn't see you in my mirror," stuttered Jonathan. The Count didn't seem to hear. He was staring intently at Jonathan's chin. Jonathan put up his hand and felt a trickle of blood. "You should be more careful," hissed the Count, "and I don't allow mirrors." He flung Jonathan's shaving mirror out of the window and stalked away. There was no sign of the Count at breakfast or after it. To pass the time, Jonathan decided to explore, but each door he tried was locked. Eventually, he came to one door with broken hinges. He put his shoulder against it and shoved. Ugh! He brushed a cobweb out of his eyes and looked around at a room full of heavy old furniture, covered in dust. The stale air began to make him feel sleepy. Yawning, he sank onto a couch. As if in a dream, 3 women appeared. They were very beautiful, with flashing eyes and sharp white teeth. "Enough blood for us all," laughed one, leaning over him. Jonathan felt her teeth on his neck, but he couldn't move. "Vampires," he thought helplessly. "This is the end." Suddenly, he heard the Count. "Stop! You must not eat him." Not yet. It was the last thing Jonathan remembered. When Jonathan woke, he was in his room. He sprang up and tried the door, but it was locked. There were shouts under his window. In the yard below, some men were loading wooden boxes into a cart. "Help," he called. "I'm locked in. Can you help me?" He thought the men nodded, but when they returned, it was with Dracula. "You cannot leave," said the Count bluntly. "I need you here." "Yes, I'm sure you need me, so those women can eat me," thought Jonathan, but he was too frightened to say anything. Eventually, the men finished loading the boxes, and the yard was deserted. Jonathan looked around carefully, then climbed out of his window. To his dismay, the outer gates were locked. He looked around desperately. One door stood ajar, but the passageway beyond led only to a dark vault. Yuck! He wrinkled his nose. The air smelt foul. Inside, someone had been digging up the ground. More wooden boxes lay around, half filled with soil. Jonathan stopped. There, in one box, lay Count Dracula, apparently asleep. His face was twisted into an evil smile, and his lips were stained with blood. "Help! Help!" gasped Jonathan. "He's a vampire too!" Filled with horror, he seized a shovel and swung it at Dracula, but his hand shook and he missed. The shovel struck the lid of the box and it slammed shut. Terrified, Jonathan dropped the shovel and ran. "I've got to get out of here, even if I have to climb the walls," he decided. "Oh, Mina, will I ever see you again?"